The film we will be going over today is Titanic Town, directed by Roger Mitchell, a widely known director in the United Kingdom. We will be going over the historical aspect of the film throughout this video, but first, a little bit about Roger Mitchell. Roger Mitchell was born on the 5th of June 1956 in Pretoria, South Africa. He graduated from Queen's College in Cambridge in the year 1977, where he also directed and acted in a bunch of plays. During his theater directing years while a student at Queen's College, he won a few awards. Some of the awards were Best Student Director at NSDF, the National Student Drama Festival, as well as the Fringe First Award at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival on his play Private Dick. He later left the theater life behind and moved on to films, where he is really known for his movie Notting Hill, which was produced in 1999, Venus, produced in 2006, and Enduring Love, produced in 2004. This film takes place in Belfast, Northern Ireland during the 1970s. The oppressed citizens of Northern Ireland were victims of a merging they wanted no part of. They formed resistant groups to fight for their sovereign nation and stay where they were and who they were. Peace was what they wanted, but there's never peace in war. A little background history for this film. During the 1960s all the way up until the 1990s, there was conflict between a predominantly Catholic Ireland and a predominantly Protestant England. Pressures between these two caused violence to erupt, killing nearly 3,600 people and over 30,000 people were injured.
In the cold, cold grin, wherefore many mair have gone. Lay me down in the cold, cold grin. Many mair have gone. When they come, I will stand my ground.
The protagonist in this film is Bernie McPhillamy, a mother of 4 and a wife. She is actually based from a real person during the Troubles, which is what the conflict was called. A mother that just looks out for the safety of her children and has no affiliation with either side. Roger Mitchell really focuses on the emotions of the actors throughout the scenes. The way Roger Mitchell does this is by incorporating the dolly shot to capture the deep emotions of the actors in the scene. In this particular scene, we see Bernie's daughter, Annie, walking into a classroom and is being casted out by everyone in regards to her mother speaking out about the IRA, in which Roger Mitchell uses a reverse shot. We are able to see the entire class huddled in a large group and then switches over to Annie. This is where the dolly shot comes in, slowly zooming into her face. You can just see how hurt she is, especially when her so-called friends all turn their back on her. She has a daunting look on her face. The scene is clearly showing how Mitchell is using pathos, with Annie becoming an outcast. In this other scene, where we see the dolly shot, Roger Mitchell uses a different kind of emotion. He is showing that Bernie is passionate about what she is trying to get out to the
I'd say I
politicians
was
to
bringing up four
recognize their
children
situation.
in what looks like
We
the
see the
front lines
omnipotent
of a
look
battle zone.
on her face as the
We're
camera
hostages,
slowly
so we
inches
are.
to her face
And
as if
we're
we were
used as
there
hostages.
with her.
It's a very cowardly way to run a campaign, using young families as cover, and it's got to stop.
Do you believe you'll succeed in getting them to talk to you?
I'd like to see if they possess the courage it takes to make peace. I'm throwing down a gauntlet here today. We're the people you're so fond of saying you represent. We're the people you say you exist to defend. So what have you got to lose in talking to me? You know where to find me. Talk to me. Talk to me.
The view that Mitchell is really going for is social realism, by depicting the events that these citizens were enduring. He includes panning shots showing how the British Army was causing mayhem while they were present in Northern Ireland. We are seeing a deep focus shot of the British Army while they start to roll into the neighborhood, parking their armored vehicles in the yards of the residents. Mitchell wants us to experience what it would have looked like if we were some of the residents in Belfast. We experience this with a reverse shot as if we were behind the curtain looking through the window. It slowly transitions into a panning montage showing us the armored vehicles and the soldiers hopping out of them, getting ready to search the houses of the residents. We see how the stress and chaos that Bernie is going through changes her outlook throughout the film. We first see her as this blunt woman who is extremely flustered with all these events and isn't afraid to speak her mind. But then we slowly start to see her almost giving up, especially when her son is hit in the head with an axe. Life gets really hard, especially for a mother looking out for her children's welfare. While this film was loosely based on the actual events in Northern Ireland, the life of Bernie McPhellamy and her family was a great way to see what life was like. Mitchell wanted to focus more on what war and social conflict does to a family. Juxtaposed to the conflict of the Troubles, Mitchell presented the interaction of a love affair between Annie and a young man. This was a great contrast of what was going on in the bigger picture. Mitchell didn't focus too much on gunfights and other battles between the British Army and IRA. Instead, we see a family that was part of a community and got along with everyone. But it slowly just started to go down the drain. But why? This was only because the mother didn't agree with the tactics of the IRA and British Army and all the chaos they had caused. The community was predominantly on the side of the IRA, which was a major issue to them, that she spoke up and said negative things about them. This is where everything started to crumble. The social status of the daughter and son that they had in school started to be affected negatively. They faced bullying at school that even carried over to their day-to-day life. Bernie also received death threats for her actions. She even had a gun pointed to her head for simply speaking out to the media. Mitchell wants us to really understand how a middle-class family felt when they were put between a battle they wanted no part of. How is one supposed to side with either one of the militants if they are both killing innocent civilians? In this case, Bernie felt the need to stand up for the safety of her family and her community. People deserve a voice, no matter the opinion they have, and Mitchell wants us to see that. And it paid off when more and more people joined her peace group and were able to call a ceasefire for both sides.
Time takes a cigarette and puts it in your mouth. While you pull on your finger, then another finger, then your cigarette. The water wall is calling, it lingers, but you still forget. Oh, ho, 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 you're a rock and roll suicide. You're too old to lose it, and you're too young to choose it. And the clock waits so patiently on your song. You walk past the cafe, but you don't eat when you've lived too long. Ah, no, 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 you're a rock and roll suicide.